Okay, I have just bought myself the Pittsburgh Monster. This little baby will pull 1,300 pounds. It's big, it's heavy. I have a 440 pound one, and it cannot pull my Mark II up my ramp. So, bought myself the big ass motherfucker, and now I need to fit it to my ramp, and we will see how it works. The size of this cord alone is twice the size of the one I've previously had. Now what I'm going to do is sell the one I had for somebody that may need something a little less robust. But this big ass motherfucker is going to be pulling cars onto my ramp with ease. Alright, I know I keep going back to the wiring, but as I discover things I like to let you know. Here are two harnesses, and somehow they're not in their bags, so I don't know where they come from. But fortunately, because I had marked the ones that I originally took out, I've managed to figure out where they go. This one here is the front door switch, courtesy switch, and this is the original one that I had, and it has the grommet on it. It also has the magical connector that connects to the back of the door switch. As you can see, this one has rusted off, so I shall have to get a new door switch for that. This one gave me a little more confusion. I have now figured it out. But initially I had a strange moment. Well, I have lots of those, but we won't go into that. Here, as you can see, there are two wires. There is a white, a purple, and a purple. And you come to this end, and there are 4 wires. Well, how did 2 start at that end and 4 end up at this end? Well, there's a splice here. I dug out the original. Here it is. Same thing, 2 at one end, 4 at the other. And then looking at it, I noticed, hang on a minute, that one's longer. Why? Oh, they've plugged it in there. That shouldn't be plugged in there. That should be separate. Why is that separate? Well, it connects to the door switch for the courtesy light. I was looking at it thinking, oh crap, you know, I haven't got enough connections here. I've got to make some more connections, got to make some loop wires. No, where has my door switch gone? Well, isn't that Murphy's Law? Oh, there it is, right by my hand. And there, this is where the door switch plugs into. And then obviously that is inside the B post. This is for the A post, this is for the B post. I do need to search in my parts bin and see if I have any more door switches, but I have a sneaking feeling I probably don't, so that's going to be something else to add to the shopping list. Okay, so do note that when you're dealing with your wires, that it's always best to mark them if you haven't gone that far already, everything you take out, because sometimes things can bite you in the ass. And as I said, I don't know how, but these were not in the bags they should have been, and gave me a little confusion to start with, but we figured it out. All right, let's move on to something else. All right, getting back to my favourite pet peeve again, wiring harnesses. And as you know, I'm always bitching about get rid of the old ones. Now, I'll grant you that this wire has still got some flex in it, but well, you can't see it, but it's almost rock hard. I'm sure if I bent that a little more, it would snap, it would break. These little clips are what hold it to the B post. And there was one goes there, and oh look, it's worn through. Now bear in mind, this is in a B post, it's just sitting there. There's another one here, about the other side. Yep, there it is, worn through. So don't try and tell me ever that it's perfectly okay to use the old wiring harness. It is not. It is not worthwhile risking your vehicle. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and his son is restoring the car for him. And his son said, "Hey, Dad, you know, these wires look a little bit iffy. What are we going to do? We're going to put the old harness back in?" And he turned to his son and said, "No, don't you dare. You put a whole new harness in there. It's not worth the risk. We're spending a fortune restoring this car, so let's not lose it for the sake of a little piece of wire or a wiring harness. Okay, $1,000, whatever." It was an expression my mother used to use. You don't spoil a ship for a ha'porth of tar, which means you do the job properly and you don't cut corners in dangerous places. And the expression is to do with tarring the bottom of a ship. Ha'porth being a halfpenny, which, you know, way back in the mists of time was actually worth something in England. Now it doesn't even exist. But, you know, it's the cheapest denomination we had probably at the time. So it was a case of, you know, the ship will sink if you just don't spend that extra halfpenny. Okay, there you go. So you got to do it. Don't screw around. Sometimes the simplest jobs can take the most time. Getting this wiring harness here in and through and up to the top was a bit of a faff, but I got there. I used my special little grabby tool here. Also getting these clips in. They are tricky, to say the least. They hold the cable away from the hinge so that when the hinge comes in, hang on, let me bring you around here with the light. So you can see it's now tucked away neatly, and when the hinge comes in, it won't chafe up against it, cut through it. And the same applies down here, holding it away so that the hinge can't get to it. There is another hole down there, but sorry, hang on, let me try and do this. Down here, but don't worry about it. These ones that I put the rings around, I got the pieces, which is the B-post dressing piece, and saw where the clips were and then marked the relevant holes so that I knew that was not where I needed to put these. Now granted, they're off center anyway, so I shouldn't need to do that because they're nicely there. Now one of the things that I'm going to do next, well maybe not next, but I'm going to do, is to get these other nails out which held the Furflex on, and I may give this a bit of a clean up here and then give it a lick of good old Pour 15. Up here, I'm not sure if the cable did go inside or whether it came out of this hole and then ran up here. I don't know, but I decided if I could feed it up I would. I can't. No, in fact, let me rephrase that. It had to go that way if I think about it, you know, which hurts. Because there's a grommet there and the wires come through. Well, if it was running up here, of course it couldn't do that, could it, you twit? All right. And the light obviously screws up against their wooden plinth. All right, let's move on to the next piece of fun. You see, they were made to sit next to each other. Look at that. I designed the MKII perfectly to fit underneath the rear wing of the Mark II when it's on a ramp. Yeah, alright, I'm being stupid. Okay, here I go again, more wiring shit. Seems to be a wiring day today. This is one of the original harnesses. What was it marked as? Driver's side, front through to trunk. Okay, so that's one of the main harnesses that I've replaced. But look at all these lovely connectors on here that I may or may not need. Now there's a separate wiring harness there. Haven't got a clue what that's for, but I'll grab the connectors anyway. And this is why you should really keep everything until the job is finished. Look at this silly little bracket. Yeah, look at that silly little bracket. And I can tell you what that's for. That's for the overdrive. Now it must hold on to the column somehow. And then there's the 3 light bulbs that go into the overdrive. Of course, I'm not going to have an overdrive because I'm putting in a 5-speed Tremec box. The 2 main battery cables. Now, I'm going to reuse the cable, but I'm changing the ends because I'm going to put some nicer connectors on. I mean, I could use these, but no, I'm not going to. And these ends, actually those ends look pretty good. I'm just going to give them a one hell of a good clean up. File them, sand them, whatever I need to do. Obviously, I will be using this to go to the body because I'm converting it to negative earth. And this will go across to the starter solenoid. That is going to work out perfect. If, however, you know, I discover that I need that extra couple of inches like my wife wants, then I'll use the black cable but put some red tape on it, and I'll use this one and I'll put some black tape on it, just to indicate to me and anybody else that this is what they are, negative, positive. But I'm hoping I can use these. I'd like to try and put stuff back on that was originally with the vehicle, but in cases like the wiring harness, there's no fucking way I'm going to do that. As well you know. But also it gives me an idea. Oh look, that's where that grommet goes. Okay, Gary, now you know how that grommet was. And oh look, this is the lights. This is the one that goes up to the lights. And well, those clips that I was showing you earlier on the B post, I was kind of hoping I'd find them in here, but it would appear not. So somewhere I must have another harness, or maybe I have those clips. Oh, and mentioning that, I inventoried everything, all the boxes I have with all the stuff. But over time, myself and others have taken stuff out of the boxes and not updated the list. And also I have a couple of boxes out there that I haven't even entered. My wife foolishly just came out and said she wants to help me with the car. So that means she wants to do stuff. Now, as she said, she doesn't want to do the, you know, the technical stuff or the tricky stuff because she hasn't got the knowledge, which is fine. And I said, well, okay, darling, but, you know, you've got to realise that, you know, I'm going to give you what are perhaps the mundane things like clean this, clean that, polish this, polish that. You know, we need to do this. The roof in a sound deadening needs to be rolled. You know, they're mundane, boring shit, but they need to be done. And my wife is willing to help, and to me that is bloody marvellous. If she wants to come out here and help me with my baby, that's fine. I am not going to refuse that. I'm sure we'll clash a bit, but hey, that's just, you know, when you've been with somebody for as many years as I have, it happens. All right, let's move on to something else. What's next? All right, another bit of silly wiring fun. As I mentioned before, this battery isn't the permanent battery. This is what I'm just using for testing purposes. However, I went ahead and bought the relevant connections for the battery. And believe it or not, I actually got those from AutoZone. And I'll come round here and you can see them. Nice negative one, nice positive one. Not happy about those little ends sticking out there. I'm going to have to deal with that. I put it in there and thought, oh, goody, goody. But now I must admit, looking at it, I go, nope, don't like that. I'm going to tidy those ends up. I'm going to snip them off. All right, and I made the connection here to the wall, the firewall. And to be doubly sure, I have put star washers on both sides. On this side where the bolt meets the cable, and on the other side where the nut is on the inside of the firewall. Now it is a nut and a bolt here. I don't know if it was ever a tapped thread. I don't believe it was. I believe it's always been a nut and a bolt. So I got a nice new nut bolt. I cleaned up the inside. I didn't want to take the paint off here. And I know that's where the cable obviously touches with that connector, but it was, you know, nicely painted, so I didn't want to do it. So I've cleaned it up on the inside, and then it travels through the bolt, you know, the circuit through the bolt to that lug. I've also tested it between the battery terminal here and various components, the engine block, the sensors on the engine, various places, and I'm sure that the connection is a very good one. Now I will be connecting the positive to the starter solenoid, and I've been looking at this trying to figure out why that other brown wire is on the other side. And to be honest with you, I can't see why it should be. And please, if anybody out there knows different, do tell me. But I cannot see why it should be on the other side. Can you? Can you tell me that? Because I haven't got a clue. And there was originally 3 wires on my other one. The only thing I can think is maybe it's to do with... what could it be to do with? Sending power to the fuses, but I would have thought that would have been a direct connection. Yeah, that's got to be it, surely. The cable from the positive here goes to that terminal, and that brown wire should be over here, and then from the other side, the black cable goes down to the starter. I believe that's how it goes. Anybody tell me different? Please leave a comment as soon as possible. Oh, one final thing on my anal wiring tour. You will see here there is a little black piece of rubber. This is a piece of hose, and I've sliced it and placed it in there and then glued it. And I'm just letting the glue set. I've done it on the other side. Let me take you for a walk. Show you the other side. Why am I showing you the other side? Why not? And on this side, as you can see, there are no wires there at the moment. I actually remembered to do it before I put the wires in. And I just used a thing called goop glue wires, which sets reasonably hard, but in a worst case scenario you can pull it out. All I did was get the piece of hose, slice it with a utility knife very carefully so I didn't lose my fingers, and as this is where the cable will sort of pull down, that's where I needed the rubber. I don't really need it up here, that's not necessary. Alright, I don't need it up here, sorry, I don't know if you saw that, but here it is. Okay, so that's all glued in. I will, oh excuse me, wait for that glue to set, and then it will be good to go. Now, you know the rules. Get out in the garage, do some shit.